Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I have a special guest with us who's going to be talking about what an accelerator loan is, or a home loan is. And all of you Canadians, Americans, and everybody around the world needs to listen very carefully on the precarious situation that all of you home owners, as it were, are in. Because all of your mortgages, which are death pledges, are all set up to make you poor and also to lose your homes. That's throughout this world, anybody that's got a death pledge or a mortgage. So I will introduce you, or I'm going to let him introduce himself. So go ahead, please.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Shawn Darnell Kennedy. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for doing this. Now, Shawn, he approached us, the Federal Postal Court, on his mortgage. And we was calculating it, me and with Shawn, as well as the postal federal judge in Australia. And it turned out that every time he pays his principal, which is the so-called amount that was given to him, which is all fiction, by the way, the interest rate goes up. So what does that mean? Let's imagine I gave you only on digit, without telling you where I got the money from, $100,000. And you have to pay it back to me, say at an interest rate, example, 10%. Which means you pay me year on year with compounding interest, 10% of that for the first year. Well, the way the accelerator mortgage works is that every time you get closer to actually paying off the actual principal, that is the so-called sum that I gave you as a mortgage provider, I put up the interest rates on it so you can never actually pay it off. To the point I've engineered it with just simple mathematics so that you will, at the end of the fruition of that mortgage, as it were, will be worse off than you ever started. That means you'll be owing me more and more, and I might ask another $100,000 for you to become free of that death pledge, as it were. Thus, that is the end result of an accelerator loan. So, Shawn, my question is this to you. We have your history, which means we know that you're ex-military.
Yes.
You're a successful businessman, and your company is also, expanding. How is it that in an intelligent man like you, who presumably has an IQ greater than, say, 90, to be able to enter military, that means you can add up, read, write, make life-changing decisions on the battlefield, whether to take a life or to spare a life, or whether to give aid or not to give aid. In other words, you are the supreme commander of whether you take a life or not. I mean, that is about as good as it can get in terms of judgment. And yet,
Absolutely.
Yet, somebody has set up a trap for you into a accelerator mortgage. It's bad enough that you got a mortgage, a death pledge.
To begin with.
Yeah. So explain to me, Shawn, how is this even possible that there are quite literally millions of these mortgages out there that are designed for you to pay them as much money as they can, and then you lose your property?
It's been set up forever. It's been set up forever. And it comes across as most people know this terminology, the American dream. So they paint this elaborate picture that they want you to fall asleep in. And they rock you to sleep with this American dream because everybody is buying into it. An American dream is buying a home. But that's where the tricks and the traps lie to begin with.
So I think what you're saying is that people have wonderful images in their head fictional images, made up images of the American life through publicity, media and
Absolutely.
publicity. But the paperwork is the direct opposite of a dream, but a nightmare.
Exactly. But that's in the trickery in itself, because the language that we speak is also trickery. We speak in a sense babble. We don't realize that the language, they created the language for us to speak, to entrap us. So we don't even realize certain words that we use as a person. I'm a living man. You're a living woman. And that's the distinction that gets you away from the tricks and the traps that they lay out, because language is a form of a trick and a trap that they have already put in place.
We know in law, albeit in contract law, anybody that does evil, thinks evil, or tries to perpetrate evil, the three wise monkeys, that already nulls and voids the contract. It's like it's like a man and woman getting married. When a man lies to the woman about who he is, what he is, that already has destroyed the marriage. There was never a marriage to begin with. So there is never a contract to begin with, because they have done foul upon the people, the American dream. You was mentioning, Shawn, that something about in Iraq that everybody's kind of, people are lining up for a mortgage. Explain that to me, please.
People are lining up around the corner for a mortgage because, like I said, they've been painted this picture of this being the American dream. But the American dream is actually the American nightmare, based off the terms and the interest rates and the years that you have to pay on it forever. It's a trap to begin with. I mean, even to even get the mortgage to begin with was a trap. And then they having you pay on it. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, contractually, I mean, unless you understand that you're a dead entity. And some people, when I talk to them, they look at me and they say, well, I'm talking just like you. Got flesh and blood just like you. But they don't understand that the trap is in not only the language, but it's in the grammar that they use. It's in the what's the word I'm looking for? It's
So the grammar itself, is poisoned. This passe syntax,
yes,
it's all poisoned. The point I suppose you're making is that people around the world are sold a death pledge. You can't get more clearer than that.
Yes.
Thinking that it's got something to do with you actually owning your own home after 30 years or 25 years, only to find that it's actually a pledge to the death. In other words, it will follow you to the death and beyond, because it's transferred to your children and your offspring.
Yes.
And
it was by choice. And it was made by choice. So they trick you into choosing to make that choice.
Because the images in our mind are actually so strong, we follow it unconsciously, that we will actually put our signature or autograph or agree to actually signing up to a death pledge where you've sold your children, even your grandparents, into perpetual servitude, because it's a death pledge. It's a pledge in death. Yeah, and it'll follow you generation after generation.
Yes.
And another instrument that they use, as you've now understood, Shawn, is that it's also they put an all powers of attorney in.
Yes.
The average American knows what a general power of attorney is, a specific power of attorney is. So when you put a general powers of attorney, commonly known as an all powers of attorney, you even give the solicitor or the law firm complete and utter jurisdiction and custody over your physical body, your children, and even if you're in hospital and they believe you're not going to pay back what they think you owe them, they can have the right to actually organ harvest you, because you can actually only organ harvest while you're still alive. I mean, how how do I explain this any better than that? Millions of people should be aware of this, but they are completely sleepwalking.
That's because the society has them, the powers that be have them believing that they are equal, and they don't realize that they just a walking corporation. And they need to open up their eyes and realize that they are a living and breathing man and living and breathing woman. And once they understand the separation between the two, then the doors and the light will start shining. Because once your eyes are open, you actually see for what it's worth. It's you can't turn and walk away from it from that point.
So, several more things I want to cover. I'm hoping that everybody listening to this has completely understand the horror of what an accelerator loan is, and what an horrific thing it is to sign an all powers of attorney to somebody you don't even know. What more words can I possibly use? Let me try. Shawn, how would you explain to the general public, especially people in the US of A, not US of A, what an all powers of attorney is? Perhaps you can explain it to them better than I do, because I'm just recycling the old horrible words that I've been using, and I don't feel I'm getting a message across.
Basically, all powers of attorney is you giving up your rights to make any decision on your own, and you giving them permission and the authorization to make all decisions based on your behalf. But you're giving them willingly by choice, because there's the tricks and the traps that they do to get you to give up that right for them to have authority over your persons. So to speak.
But since people do not understand the difference between a person and a living man and a woman, they fall into the trick of
over
thinking over and over again.
And it's everywhere, no matter what you do. Whether it's you buying a car, whether it don't matter. It really doesn't matter. Whether you signing up for a debit card, where you filling out a voting poll, if you're going to the gun show and you filling out the application to whether you're a Mr. or a Mrs. or you're black or you're white or Hispanic, it's all part of the tricks and the traps. But we just follow suit because we think that's the way that it's supposed to be. And then as soon as somebody tell you something different than what the way of the world moves, then something wrong with you, because you've been so deeply programmed and believing the way society works that anything else is ludicrous.
You mentioned, anybody ticks that box, Hispano, Asian, white, black, that box that looks so innocent, where they're trying to say they're just trying to get data to help you, facilitate your needs, as it were. Perhaps you can say a little bit more to your fellow Americans what it means to tick a box saying that you're a white man or a white person or a white woman.
Make you non-existent. It puts you in a place of I think is if I'm not mistaken, like the coloring of law. I mean, it just takes you completely out the equation altogether just by checking that box. And for you to argue the fact afterwards, they will look at you like you're crazy, because you agreed by signing and checking it off that you understood what you was doing, but you really don't in the end.
Because there's another box, isn't it, to say that you understand what you're ticking. Exactly. And you've understood what you've read.
Exactly.
So what they're actually understanding is the presumption and assumption, the images in their mind as to what a white man or white woman is, except what it means in contract law, by definition of the word itself.
Absolutely.
So we know that when they tick that box, they're actually claiming to be European or North African. That's what white man means. It means that he is a non-native America, that is a non-native of South Africa, but really just North African, not South African, and that his origins and where he belongs by ticking that box is that he is actually an illegal alien. That's what an alien is. It's illegal. Alien means no lien, which means he's got no contract. And they've walked and talked the entire American white population on the back of what they call white privilege in ticking that box, because that box means so much to them, the mortgage providers, the de facto federal government, that it's so worth for them to do this, because then they can sell you death pledges.
Absolutely.
So let's imagine, you've been successfully programmed, and your friend has been successfully programmed that he is an upstanding white citizen, and that you are an upstanding black citizen, proud in your black body, and he proud in his white body. You both go in for a home loan, and you tick the box and he ticks the box. We know now what it means for him to tick that box. What will it mean to you, Shawn, when you tick that box to say that you're a black man?
I'm just a man. I'm just a living man. I don't fall underneath that color of law. I don't fall underneath. I'm just a living man.
So, let's imagine that you have been successfully programmed. By ticking that box, that you are a black man, as it were, like say 5 years ago or something, before you became wiser. What would that mean? Because they need to hear this from you.
It traps you into their contract. It traps you into their corporate web. It traps you into their language, because they created the language. And just because they presume that you really understand what you're reading and all that it says, and because you don't, and you just checking off boxes, you actually you pulling yourself deeper into the web by contracting with them, and you telling them that you understand exactly what you're doing, but really technically you don't.
And a black man, as Obama came out when he won the election and came out on his opening statement and said, "Don't call me a black prime minister, because black has no standing in law."
Black has no standing in law, like Black Law Dictionary.
Has no standing
in law.
Yeah, like the black family out of Venice. Yeah, they have no black nobility, they call them. The black pope. They have no standing anywhere on this planet. In fact, I liken them to featherless canaries. Canaries that are so inbred that they've lost their feathers and their ability to fly. You see them for what they really are.
Right.
And I'm sorry about insulting canaries. I don't mean to insult canaries, but these are freaks that we're dealing with. Freaks that create such things, and they think they can get away with it. No. I'm coming for them, especially the Lord spiritual and temporal. I'm coming for you. Yeah, which I'll be exposing later on what all that means, soon as I wrote out the letters to them to show them up for what they are. Anyway, that's a different story. I wanted to ask you, it looks like now another reason why Iraq was invaded is to also, as well as other things, is to sell the population the American dream and the nightmare that follows. So it sounds like these rather pernicious individuals invaded Iraq to turn a dream into a nightmare. And that's why they're now, lining up, as you say, wanting to buy mortgages. But in reality, they don't own the land, not even the building, not even their name. They don't even own their own name, because they sold all that out, because the images in their mind about acquiring the American dream has just become...
blinders on, so for you to really see what's really happening. And even if you end up paying it off, you'll still become a tenant in your own home that you think that you own.
So on that, I'm going to go to our website. You'll cut off for a few seconds, but you'll be, your voice will be still with us. do make your commentary. Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
show you what Shawn is talking about. Shawn is talking about this particular, documents on my website, and here, you can see one document from the US, another one from Australia, and I think another one from Australia or US as well, and another one from England. Okay. Remember, England has many jurisdictions. One is the British Isles, that's one. England is another, and United Kingdom is another. Three. But people don't understand that. So he's actually talking about these documents. When we look at it, sorry, I beg your pardon. Let's pick on this one. Yeah, it will actually say joint tenant. Okay, you guys can read all of that, and it'll be right there. And these are also called mortgage free. Yeah, they're so-called mortgage free. And you guys can see all of these things for yourself. Like the mayor and the burgess is actually the beneficiary of your home. Yeah, it's in your face. Yeah, that's why we created the land registry. It's a part of a salvage claim where people can actually go in and log. And they're quite literally, these are the amount of people that have actually logged in. The list goes on and on and on and on and on in every country in the world. Sorry, almost every country in the world, because we are global, as it were. Okay. So, Shawn, you must have visited this website before you contacted us. And you're looking at this document and you're thinking, hey, hold on a minute. This guy has completely paid off his mortgage, like 20 years ago, and he's still the tenant in his own home. What's going on?
Exactly.
I mean, what went through your mind when you realized that what was going on?
I had to scratch my head. I almost lost it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's like,
wow.
I'm an intelligent man. How can the trickery, like, how could it be that, and it's right in your face, like it sits right in your face. But like I say, it goes back to the language that they use.
Yeah, because the language, as David Way Miller points out, is 100% fraudulent and poisoned in order to make slaves of people and for you to warfare, with each other just because somebody called you a white man or a black man and you take offense to it. Oh, boy, must you take offense to being called white and black,
Right.
because that takes you right out of any standing in law.
Yep.
Look, Shawn, do you have any last words? Because I want to hand this over to you, to finish it off. What's your last words? What's your wisdom on this? And please let me remind people, you're ex-military, you're a successful businessman, an expanding business. Yeah. So if you fall into this, what bloody hope is there for the rest of the world, innocently thinking? So I'll completely hand it over to you now.
My wisdom that I can give based on everything that you said is to make sure you subscribe to Mark and allow him to show you the tricks and the traps that was displayed today, because there's so many. And once you open your eyes, it'd be hard for you to close them, because it's sitting there right in your face. And it's almost, it pisses you off at times because it's like so disrespectfully in your face, but you don't really realize because of the language that they use. But once you get out of that language and start understanding what language really is from a parsing, syntax, grammar standpoint, and learning how to contract properly, life will become a little bit simpler. You'll see the forest from the trees. You instead of being in traffic and just seeing 3 cars back, you'll begin to have an aerial view. And that's the wisdom I want to give by subscribing to Mark. You'll get a whole aerial view of the playing field, and it'll open up your eyes when you actually see what you don't see. It's staring right in your face.
Well, thank you very much for that endorsement. I wasn't expecting that. But perhaps you can help me with this. I always feel that I am failing in getting this message out, even though, we had a judges meeting. Every Sunday we have a judges meeting, and some of the judges were pointing out the fake news that's going on about Ukraine war, where the pictures that they're actually using, the mainstream media, are actually using cardboard cutout guns and machine guns that wobble in the air when the air gets a little bit too strong, when the wind picks it up. And that's, and people are falling for it. People are falling for it because that's how hypnotized they are. They can't tell the difference between a fake gun and a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
They can't tell the difference between a president and a director. Mm-hmm. They don't seem to understand the difference between
one big movie.
One that's what Lance said. One big movie.
It's one big movie. Sometimes when you turn on the news, just grab some popcorn. You just sit back and watch the show. It's really a show.
That's what it is. Show with, of course, deadly consequences.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, look, Shawn, I want to thank you for taking this time out.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for the endorsement. It's heartfelt. And if you guys out there feel that I'm getting this message out, let me know by the comment section, because I get frustrated that I'm not saying enough. I'm perhaps missing something out. Download this video and upload it to your YouTube channel. Open up a YouTube channel. The Canadians realize, my God, if we don't do something, they're going to turn us into slaves. Yeah, and that's how close they came. And they decided to do something about it. And I stepped up to the mark and I helped them out. Please, guys, share this video with millions of people. Let there be millions of viewers listening to this, because you don't need a death pledge. We can get rid of it. Look, any Christian, any Jew, any Muslim, any man or woman with any faith cannot have a death pledge. That avoids faith. Yeah, you can't go to church, or, you have to confess your sin that you have a death pledge.
People have been programmed for so long that it's sometimes they get scared of the truth.
Indeed.
But the truth is in the light.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Shawn, for sharing this knowledge. And, I wish you all the best with what you're doing with the Federal Postal Courts. And I wish you all the best in your business adventures. And let's get rid of this bloody accelerator mortgage home loan. What an insult to mankind. Ex-servicemen, It's under the principle of zero tolerance, ladies and gentlemen, because you must never tolerate this type of conduct or behavior from any corporation, from any man or woman. It immediately puts them into the realm of a death sentence. Just because they're getting away with it doesn't mean that they can keep doing it and get you to believe you're a victim. It's zero tolerance. That's the name of the law. Because you can never tolerate such wickedness in your world and life. Absolutely. That's why we have the power to remove mortgages globally. Yeah. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
For your efforts. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.